And welcome back, students. Today we're going to do our final lesson in static methods and variables. We're going to this time get into static methods in the wrapper classes. So wrapper classes, if you recall so far, what we've learned on wrapper classes kind of helps to explain why they're called wrapper classes, because they wrap around like the primitive types. However, the wrapper classes themselves contain a number of useful constants and static methods. So wrapper classes have two distinct personalities, therefore. They have the ability to produce class objects corresponding to values of primitive types, and they serve as a repository of useful constants and methods. While it is not necessary to combine both into one class, the developers of Java choose to have only one set of classes for both personalities. Let's first talk about largest and smallest values. You can use the associated wrapper class to find the value of the largest and smallest values of any of the primitive number types. For example, the largest and smallest values of type int are integer.maxValue and integer.minValue. Largest and smallest of type double, and so there's a type right there, double.max_value and double.min_value. Alright, parse double. Wrapper classes also have static methods that can be used to convert back and forth between string representations of numbers and the corresponding number of type int, double, long, or float. For example, the static method parse double of the wrapper class double converts a string to a value of type double. So the code double.parseDouble 199.98 returns the double value 199.98. If there's any possibility that the string named by the string has any extra leading or trailing blanks, we should use double.parseDouble the string.trim. So the method trim, if you recall, is a method in the string class that trims off the trailing or leading whitespace characters, such as blanks. Tab would be another one. If the string is not a correctly formed numeral, then the invocation of double.parseDouble will cause your program to end. You're actually going to have a crash. So if someone puts a space in there, it could actually crash it. So you actually really want to try to trim things if possible. And the use of trim helps avoid the issue of your program just crashing because someone just stuck an extra space in someplace. Similar to parse double, we have parse int, right, where the static methods integer.parseInt, long.parseLong, and float.parseFloat convert from string representation of numbers to the corresponding primitive types of int, long, and float, respectively. Each of the numeric wrapper classes also has a static method called toString that converts in the other direction from a numeric value to a string representation of the number. So, for example, toString 12399 with a wrong facing parenthesis, returns the string value 123.99. Right, character. The wrapper class for the primitive type char contains a number of static methods that are useful for string processing. Some of the methods are shown here in the next slides. A simple example of using static method to uppercase of the class character is shown with the string processor class. This program combines the string processor methods of the class string with the character processing methods in the class character. Right, Boolean. There's also a wrapper class with the corresponding Boolean to the primitive type. It has names for the two constants of type Boolean, Boolean.true and Boolean.false, which are the Boolean objects corresponding to the values true and false of the primitive type Boolean. Methods of the character class. The class character is in the java.lang package, so it requires no import statement. Remember when we did the math class, we had a similar thing here where there's no import statement needed? Same thing happens here. We don't have to import anything here because it's all built into the Java libraries. Public static char to upper char argument returns the uppercase version of the argument. Character.to uppercase A and character.to uppercase capital A both return A, capital A. Public static char to lowercase similarly will do the lowercase version. Public static boolean is uppercase char argument return true if the argument is uppercase. Character.is uppercase A will obviously then return true. Similarly with if the is lowercase, returns true if the argument is in lowercase. Public static boolean is whitespace is permits a boolean to test if the argument is a whitespace character. If it is not a whitespace character, such as character.is whitespace capital A, it returns false. Public static boolean is letter. We will obviously just return if it's a letter. Similarly, if it's a digit, it's going to return true if it's a digit. public static boolean is letter or digit will return true if it's a letter or digit. So pretty much if it is not like a white space character or a special character or anything like that. Now, a quick pitfall to note: a wrapper class does not have a no argument constructor. Normally, it is good programming practice to define a no arg constructor in any class you define. However, there are rare occasions where a no arg constructor simply does not make any sense. The wrapper classes discussed in the previous slides, so like integer, double, all those, do not have a no arg constructor. To use the static methods in a wrapper class, you need no calling object, and hence no need for a constructor at all. The other function of a wrapper class is to provide a class object corresponding to a value of a primitive type. So, for example, new integer 42 creates an object of the class integer that corresponds to the int value 42. There is no arg constructor for the class integer, because it makes no sense to have an object of the class integer unless it corresponds to an int value. And if it does not correspond to an int value, that int value is naturally an argument to the constructor. I think I have a duplication here, so that argument looks like I kind of repeated it. So yeah, naturally no argument to the constructor. But anyways, that wraps up the notes, folks. Until next time.